We're going to have a chat about how to drag a rear fender. So a slow wheelie sort of taken to the extreme end of the scale. If you've seen our other video about slow wheelies and how to work up to getting the front wheel up nice and high to the balance point, that's a good starting point before you really try and get the rear fender to touch the ground. It's well and truly possible, it's controllable, it's not something you have to risk crashing every time. It takes a bit of time to get the bike up high enough and get comfortable taking it through the balance point, realistically to the point of looping out, and then hoping you trust your control inputs to get the front wheel back on the ground. So it's not an easy technique, but it is doable with some practice. Before you try and get the rear fender on the ground, make sure you're sitting in the right place on the bike. Get right to the back of the seat, so when the front wheel comes up, your weight is really low, and that makes the wheelie easier to control. It's also handy too if you do get it wrong and loop out. By the time you loop out, you're almost on the ground anyway and it doesn't hurt so much. To get the rear fender on the ground, you have to bring the front wheel up through that balance point and let the bike fall backwards until you feel the rear fender touch. You generally can feel it. If not, you just got to keep edging towards it and then bring the front wheel back to the ground with a pretty aggressive use of the rear brake, but still controlled. Don't just stab at the rear brake. When you do that, you risk locking the rear wheel up. If the rear wheel skids at that point, you'll loop the bike out. It has to grip the surface so that the momentum then throws the front wheel back to the ground. Building up to getting your rear fender on the ground can be pretty frustrating. You have to take your time, otherwise you'll loop the bike out a whole bunch. So work on your rear brake control, work on your clutch and throttle control, get comfortable with the front wheel moving through that balance point, and you'll have your rear fender on the ground in no time.